Welcome to the Executive Woman Podcast, Women Changing the Game. I'm your host, Dr. Sheila Robinson, and our mission is to empower women in business, leadership, and life. Each week, we bring you conversations with trailblazing executives and influential leaders who are breaking barriers and reshaping the business landscape. Through these discussions, we aim to provide you with the tools, strategies, and the motivation to advance your career and make a lasting impact not only in your career, but in your life also. So whether you are an inspiring leader that's just starting out in your career, a seasoned executive, or you're somewhere in between, this podcast is dedicated to supporting your professional journey and fostering a community of empowered women who lift each other up. Today, we're so thrilled to have with us Marguerita, who goes by Rita M. Cheng. She is the Chief Executive Officer at Blue Ocean Global Wealth. And prior to founding Blue Ocean Global Wealth, she was a financial advisor at Ameriprise Financial, an analyst, and an editor at TOA Securities in Tokyo, Japan. Ooh, I love that. She's a certified financial planner, CFP, a chartered retirement planning counselor, which is a CRPC, a retirement income certified professional, RICP, and a chartered SRI counselor, which is the CSRIC. And she is someone we need to carry in our pockets, correct, ladies? She's an in-demand financial writer and speaker. She has contributed her expertise to numerous media outlets such as Forbes, The Wall Street Journal, CNBC, Reuters, Kiplinger, World Report, Time, Yahoo, NerdWallet, Financial Advisor. I'm just trying to help her get on this stage quickly. She is amazing. So welcome to our virtual stage, and just say hello to our listeners, and let's talk a little bit about our episode title today.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here.
Well, today our title is Empowering Financial Leadership and Diversity. Marguerita, would you just speak a little bit to that and why you came up with that topic for our listeners and what they can expect to hear as we carry on in our episode?
Well, I think it's important for all women, regardless of age or stage, to have confidence, clarity, and control about their finances. And I'm actually going to throw another C in there, courage. The courage to ask for help. Because sometimes we think that asking for help is a sign of weakness. But I want you to know that when you ask for help and someone helps you and they can make a difference in your life, that is truly amazing. It is a blessing. It's a gift. And you don't want to deprive someone of that opportunity and feeling to know that they could help you.
Let's do those 4 C's again. Courage, clarity,
confidence, and control.
Confidence,
so we want people to have clarity about what they want, the confidence to know that the decisions they are making align with their passion and priorities. Control. We cannot control the stock market. We can't control interest rates, but we can control how we save, how we invest, and how we react to those events. And I happen to throw another C in there, is courage. The courage to know that it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to want to do better for yourself.
That is amazing. I mean, already you just kicked the morning off. But I want to know about Blue Ocean Global Wealth. I love that title. Tell me about, what made you found that, and include your early career experiences in sharing that as well.
Sure. So I was inspired by the book Blue Ocean Strategy. Blue Ocean Strategy is where you look to the competition, but you don't necessarily benchmark yourself to the competition, and you innovate. So why is my financial planning investment advisory firm called Blue Ocean Global Wealth? How am I innovating? So early on, I realized that if we were going to be serious about changing conversations about money and wealth, we needed to be disruptors. Disruptors mean that there's nothing wrong with this way of doing business, but typically if people wanted access to competent ethical advice, they had to have a certain amount of money to invest. Yes, we do need to invest to reach our goals, but I thought, well, that's not right. I don't think I'd feel good about myself telling a young professional, you know what, I'm sorry, you're not worthy of getting good advice because you're not going to be able to give me 500,000 or 1 million to invest. So my blue ocean strategy was separating quality advice from investment advice, that people don't need to invest a certain amount of money to get good advice. You can pay for good advice and build wealth along the way. Because I wanted to change conversations about money and wealth.
That is outstanding. And as you know, women need that more so than anyone. So what was tell me about your early career experiences and the challenges that you may have as a woman in the financial industry.
So here we are in 2024, and I will tell you, I passed the CFP certification exam in 2004. That's 20 years. And it is amazing to see more women and more individuals from diverse backgrounds. When I say diverse backgrounds, I'm talking about ethnic, cultural, racial, religious diversity.
Yes.
Also, sexual orientation. So it is very important because personal finance is just that, it's personal. And you want to be able to work with somebody that, quote, gets you, understands you. And so some of the challenges I faced early on, and I tell this to my 3 kids. They're all Gen Z. They're all a little bit older these days. And I said this, when I first started in the profession, which was 99, 2000s, I didn't see anybody who looked like me. And I don't just mean racial, ethnic. A lot of people joke around. They're like, Vita, you're 6 feet tall. I'm like, no, I'm actually only 5'8". I just have really good posture and I always wear 3-inch heels, but I'm only 5'8". Um, and so that's when people joke. They're like, well, I don't know a lot of people that are women who are 6 feet tall. And I say, listen, I'm only 5'8". I also say that I'm multiracial. My dad was born in China. My mom is Irish and Eastern European. But it isn't about just how, when I say I didn't see anybody who looked like me, I didn't see like a lot of diversity.
Yes.
Um, not in this case, we can check a lot of boxes. I didn't see a lot of gender diversity. I didn't see a lot of racial, ethnic. The other thing, then I didn't even see a lot of age diversity. I was a young mom of 2 small children. My daughter hadn't even reached her 3rd birthday, and my son was barely 6 months old. So some of the adversity that I overcame is sometimes because I didn't see anybody who looked like me, not just looks, but also the experience. A lot of people didn't see anybody who looked like me. So therefore, because they didn't see anybody who was successful, it was hard for them to understand that I too could be successful.
Exactly.
So some of the challenges I faced were just sometimes allowing people to decide what I am capable of. And I preach this. I drive this home to my daughters every day. I'm like, don't let people decide what you can or can't do. Just because, and I don't think that people were vicious. It's just they had never seen anybody. But I can tell you, don't misunderstand me. Don't mistake the fact that I'm quiet, I'm introspective, for being meek and weak, because I am very determined. The
Right.
moment you tell me I can't do something, oh, let me tell you, I will want to prove that I can for myself, not for you. Um, and I think that's really important.
And I thank you for doing that because you opened it up for so many other women. And that's the importance of representation because I myself have been let turn down for jobs back in the 1990s and early 20s that I was truly overqualified for. But because, I had a little empathy with the leader is that he didn't have the courage to trust that I could do the role because he didn't see anyone that looked like me that could do that job. So thank you for opening up that path for women and people of diversity, period. So let's talk about what do you mean by empowering financial leadership? Can you speak to that?
Sure. So empowerment, a lot of people use that word a lot, right? And it has different meanings to different people. When I say I want people to feel financially empowered, I want people to feel financially confident and resilient. Because the reality is sometimes bad things are going to happen to people. It's not that I'm negative, but people get laid off. They didn't do anything wrong, right? And so financial empowerment is letting people, giving them the tools, the knowledge, the support to know that they can get through this. So part of being empowered is being confident and resilient. And that's what I really, sometimes people can be a little bit sassy. What are you selling? And I was like, to be honest, I'm not really selling any product. I need to sell clients and prospects for people who aren't clients yet. The vision that by working together, by following the financial planning process, understanding yourself, understanding your priorities and passions, that planning can make other areas of your life easier for you, right? It's not going to be perfection, but it's going to be progress. And at the end of the day, I want everyone to have the greatest chance at having the best outcome for financial independence, right? That's what I want for people. I want them, when they put their head on the pillow at night, to know that we work together to help them gain that clarity, what's important to them, the confidence to know that if someone questions, why did you do that? You know that you made the right decision for yourself, and a sense of control that we can't be control freaks, but we can control how we react. So to me, that's what it means to be, to help people become financially empowered. They're confident and they're resilient and they know they got this.
You talked about the C's earlier. What I'm feeling, I just feel in everything you're sharing is the planning, the preparation, and the peace. That's what you are giving us. That is what you are offering to us, peace, because disruptions do happen. Like for my example, I'll use myself for example. After 14 years of marriage, I was faced with divorce. Like I wasn't in the plan. So this is why how your services and this type of empowerment, financial empowerment, could give me the peace to sleep at night. I love that. So, what about insights into some effective wealth management strategies? What are some examples, that maybe women don't even think about?
So this is what I tell people, regardless of your age or stage, I think it's important for women to take an active role in their finances. Now, if you have a spouse or partner and he, she, or they take the lead, that is okay, but at least allow yourself the opportunity to be included and informed and included. And why am I sharing this? So, my mom is a baby boomer, and when my dad passed away, it was really hard for my mom because not only was my mom mourning the loss of my dad, sometimes my mom was having feelings of guilt during bereavement class because she's like, I feel bad, like some of these ladies are just in a dire situation. They have to sell their house, and I feel bad that I'm going to be okay. So I would say the first thing I can tell people is it's important to just, be informed and be involved. Let's just say that you're younger and you have student loan debts and you're in the red, your net worth. That is okay, because you have a lot of things going for you. You have your human capital that you will use to build financial capital. You have time on your side and you have your health. So I think all too often, a lot of the messaging we hear can make people feel really depressed, like, oh, I'm behind, I'm this, I'm that. You are enough and you are worthy and you are deserving of reaching your full potential. So I would say the first thing that we can do is just tell people to get involved, stay informed, and understand that even if you did make mistakes, they're not mistakes if you're committing to do better for yourself. So I'd say that as far as some concrete steps, I think it's important to have balance in life, and sometimes I gotta admit, sometimes I'd struggle with this. I would be like so, motivated. And I'll give you an example. Yes, having consumer debt is bad, but sometimes I was a little bit I was so scared of credit card debt that sometimes I wouldn't use credit cards. But sometimes it is actually good to have a credit card because they give you protection. So credit versus debit, right? So I would say be mindful about how you're using credit, but credit can also be a very powerful tool. Another wealth strategy tip number 2 is insurance. Make sure that you take the time to evaluate your insurance and make sure it makes sense for you. I'm not just talking about life insurance, but, you know, disability insurance, renter's insurance, auto insurance. View your insurance as no, listen, no one likes to pay for insurance, but insurance is there for protection, risk management. So I'd say that. 3 is pay yourself first. It's the habits that matter. If all you can save is $10 every Friday, that's fine. True story. These clients have been my clients for 24 years. And when I first met them, they did have a lot of student loans. They're a highly coachable, wonderful couple. And I said, all I need you to do is if each one of you, because every Friday someone was getting paid, so we had a paycheck coming in every Friday. I was like, what I just need you to do is this small thing. All you need to do is tell me that you're going to save $10 every Friday. They did it. Then when they paid off their car, guess what? They're able to save more than $10 every Friday. Whatever they paid off, I said, we're going to have a little bit of fun here. What was your car note? I think at that time it was $424. I said, so what I want you to do is that half. Remember how you were paying yourselves $10 every Friday? I want you to divide your $424 in half. I got that. It's $212. And then that $212, I want you to divide that by however many Fridays there are in a month, and you're going to add that to your $10. They're like, yeah, we can do that. We did that. Someone else's car was paid off. We did that. Sooner or later, we have reached the target of 3 to 6 months of cash reserves. Awesome. Guess what? Then we start building Roth IRAs, right? Oh, and guess what? We got some pay raises and promotions along the way. So we increased more to our Roth IRAs. Oh my goodness, we're blessed with 2 children. Well, once we do have to pay for daycare, and that's expensive. But while the children are little, the best we could do is save $50. Because daycare is really expensive. That's okay. That's all we're going to do. But when the children enter kindergarten, we don't need to pay for our daycare cost has dropped precipitously. We still have to pay for before care and after care. We redirect that money. So here we are 24 years later. And this is exactly how we build wealth. So this story is very inspiring because you don't need a lot of wealth to build wealth. Yes, having more wealth in the beginning helps you get there faster, but you can start with modest means. And I know there's inflation, so maybe that $10 every Friday is more like $25, but still, even starting with $10 definitely made a difference in the lives of these clients. And they told me, they're like, Rita, we couldn't have done it without you. And I said, no, it's truly a partnership. We couldn't have done this without one another. Collaboration.
And what I hear is the education. That was a couple that you provided them knowledge and education. And, that is priceless. That is priceless. Having that type of that guidance and that coaching. And you coached them, and I'm a strong believer of coaching. So I just absolutely love that story. I absolutely love that you said that it's never too late to start. So to our listeners, we got our courage, our confidence, I keep forgetting the 2 other C's, courage, confidence.
Clarity. So what's important to you? So this couple knew that they wanted
Clarity.
to do better. It's
What's
not
important?
me telling them what they need to do. And then confidence to know that they can do this. And I think that sometimes we really need to be intentional about our messaging because, different people have different needs and priorities, also different family circumstances. Like I'm the first one in my family to graduate from 4-year university, right? some people do carry more student loan debt just because they might have been the first to. So these conversations about shaming people how loan debt is bad, like that doesn't serve anybody well. Helping people know that they can have these tools and knowledge and improve their situation at the pace that's right for them. Now that's transformational.
That is transformation. And I love that it's never too late to start. I love that the coaching and the education, especially when you talk about most people do look at credit card debt as a horrible thing when you talked about how it can help you. So those are all good strategies and tips. I wanted to ask you a question that you have global wealth in yours. What's the significance of Blue Ocean Global and the significance of a global diversity in the financial sector?
Sure. So I just want to clarify about credit card debt. I think the use of credit it can be really helpful. Like sometimes we do have credit card debt. That the credit card debt in itself, it might not be ideal, but we also have to make sure that we're, taking the time to understand. Like, if somebody was helping a family member buy tires for the car and they happen to carry that balance. Let's not like shame people for that. But sometimes the use of credit is powerful because you get protection with fraud, and that is like really rampant. There's a lot more protection for credit cards versus like debit cards. So why global? So of course I would want to be Blue Ocean Wealth, but that domain was taken. Global, I do feel like I am a global citizen. I mentioned that my dad was born in China, left China to go pursue higher education in Taiwan. Then he came to the United States. My mom is of Irish and Eastern European heritage. As a child, I lived in the Netherlands. I also did study abroad. So I'm like, all right, someone took the domain Blue Ocean Wealth, but I'm still inspired by Blue Ocean. I'll be Blue Ocean Global Wealth. So important to take like a global perspective because we are global citizens.
I love that. Love it. So, talking a little bit about the future, what do you think are some emerging trends in the financial planning and wealth management that our listeners can benefit from hearing about?
So sure, some trends is we know I happen to have this right here, our smartphones. So AI, apps, I think that these are trends that are here. The use of technology can help us, like there's a lot of AI that can help us track our spending and alerts. That's very, very helpful. I use technology to help me be more efficient, but this is what I tell people. I don't think technology can replace empathy, right? And having these conversations and being really sensitive and mindful to everything everyone is experiencing. So technology can improve efficiency, make us more productive. And I think that can be really helpful. Lots of AI tools for alerts, for spending, and so forth. So I'm very excited about that. It also can help screen for investments and help us do calculate to determine, hey, are we on track or not track? But nothing can replace conversations. I know that AI tools will become more robust and maybe they'll be empathetic, but I think that when you pair coaching, so behavioral coaching with empathy and quality financial planning and technology, you put a bow around it, that's when it truly can be transformational. That's when the magic happens.
That's when the magic happens. So, to our listeners, many of us are in the workplace and we're constantly negotiating our compensation packages. Is there anything that you think that women forget about or don't think about when they're negotiating their packages? ROIs or something like that?
Absolutely. I love this question because I actually helped a client with this. So she actually had W-2 income, right? But then there was a situation where she lost her job. She lost her job not because of performance. She was working for a nonprofit, and that nonprofit organization was funded by grants. They were awarded the grant, but the grant wasn't as robust in prior years. So they said, listen, we don't have enough hours for full time, but we really are happy with the service that you're doing. We'd love for you to work here on a contract basis. So I think that this is great. They recognized her value. It truly was a budgetary issue. So I think one of the things that a lot of people, but particularly women, because sometimes we think, well, we should be grateful. Yes, we can be grateful. Please be grateful. But we also need to make sure that we don't sell ourselves short. So we can be grateful and advocate for ourselves at the same time. So this is what I helped her. I said, the hourly rate that you're getting as an employee, remember, your employer is paying the employer portion of Social Security. When you're an employee, when you're an independent contractor, you are the employee and the employer. So I said, what you're doing, you do need to raise your hourly rate. It's not deceptive because you have to be responsible for both portions of Social Security tax. That was really helpful for her. The other thing, and this is a true story, I can say this about myself. Sometimes for the type of work we're doing, we need to think about the compensation that's right for us. So here's what I mean. This is actually when I was at TOA Securities, as a matter of fact. There was this guy who was a little bit older than me and nice guy. He introduced me to his boss. And when this guy who's nice moved on, his boss hired me. And of course, he paid me the same, which was fine. But what was interesting about this arrangement is I was still in school full time. So I told his boss, I said, I can't work 40 hours a week because I'm on a student visa. I can only work part-time. I wouldn't be allowed to be in this country without this student visa. So it's really important that I, stay in school and I attend class. He joked, he said, that's fine. So I was doing the work of this guy in 30 hours. So what I realized in this case, the hourly rate didn't work for me. I actually sold myself short, but I can't be too hard on myself. At that time, I was 23 years old.
Yes.
So the first story is when you are an independent contractor, be mindful of including because you're a business person, you have to include both portions of Social Security tax. Also, if you're paying for health insurance, you need to make sure that you're backing these numbers into that. The second thing that I can share is, sometimes the hourly compensation might not make sense because the boss came back to me. He said, Rita, I'm really pleased with your work. How come you can do this better than him in 30 hours? Remember, I was 23 years old. And I said, well, and I did say this. I remember exactly what I said. I was like, listen, I don't want to comment on someone else's work. But because at that time I was a foreign exchange student, I said, I'm still in school, so I'm able to read faster. This guy, remember I said he was a little bit older than me. He'd been out of school for a while. And I said, I'm just really good at managing my time. I can read fast. And also, so that's why I'm able to do it in 30 hours and 40. So by me being more efficient, I actually made less money. So
And you should have asked for more money.
I should have asked for the 40 hours, but we also have to remember, I was 23 years old,
Yes.
right? It's not an excuse, but it's an understanding of the situation. Yes, I did feel grateful that I got this job, but that's why I tell people we can be grateful and no buts and advocate for ourselves.
Absolutely. Be grateful and advocate. So, as we're nearing the end of our time together, I do want to talk a little bit about the future. And I've heard AARP talk about we're going to live to be 100 years old. And I've heard, Genentech and different organizations like that talk about how, the health community and how technology and how we eat differently, we live differently, and there's a possibility that we're going to live a lot longer. We're going to outlive, the finances that if we do what my mother did and our parents, before us did. So what is your advice on, that prediction that we're going to live longer and live beyond where our retirement, our average retirement fund can take us? And if we should be investing also in long care insurance or long-term insurance, just anything that you have to talk about the future and aging, and if we live longer, what we should be investing in.
Sure. So, longevity, the longevity economy. Who would ever think that living a long time is a risk? My grandmother, by the way, lived to be 94. My aunt put my grandmother in assisted living when she was 88. Now, at this time, my grandmother said, I told you I wasn't going to drive. I'm not driving, but I am not going to be in this assisted living with these old people. My grandma walked out. She said, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just old, and I told you I'm not going to drive.
Yes.
Okay? And she left. And so my aunt's like, okay, you can still stay at home. So where I'm going with this is there's definitely longevity in my family. And there's a difference between lifespan and health span. So to answer your question, what we can do about our money, when my daughter was 15, and she's 19 now, so my baby, I had her open a Roth IRA, right? So the most important thing you can do is, remember I said it's never too early to start. It's never too late. You want to take advantage of tax deferred accounts, but you also want to take advantage of tax free. So I tell people, start early. Don't worry if you didn't have the opportunity. Never too early, never too late. Also understand that there's phases of retirement. Maybe you don't see yourself doing what you're doing today for 60 hours a week till the day you die, and that's okay. But phases of retirement, I think, is going to be really important. Then the question you asked me about long-term care. So a lot of people say to me, hey, Rita, are you saying everybody needs long-term care insurance? And I say, no, I'm not. But everybody needs a plan for how they're going to handle a long-term care event. So that involves, if you do need care, where you're going to get it. If you want to get it at home, it's more. Studies have shown that if people can age in place at home, it will be better for them because their community, it's familiar. But I understand in some circumstances that may not be appropriate, safety and access. So as far as your plan for long-term care, so where are you going to get the care? The second thing is, who do you want to provide that care? Do you want your children? Do you want your grandchildren? It's important to know this today. And then last, how are you going to pay for it? So I did buy long-term care insurance for my parents when they were 54 and 68. Now, my mom is 77 today, and my dad has passed away. My dad actually did need long-term care because my dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and my dad was very direct. Sometimes today we would say, God, he has no filter. This is what my dad said. He's like, you know what? I'm a healthy guy. Because if I weren't, I would have dropped dead. I didn't have a stroke. I didn't have diabetes, no cancer. My dad lived with Parkinson's for 9 years. It was only the last 3 that it was bad. So I would say to people, even when you're in your 60s and 70s, the day you retire, you're not going to spend all your money. So it's important to have, I love alliteration. It's important to have 3 buckets of money. And whether you get long-term care insurance or not depends on your situation. So this is going to help people. The first bucket is your liquidity buckets. You need to have cash so that you can pay your bills, right? Then you have your longevity bucket. That is where you have some growth, right? Because you don't want everything in cash. You need some growth for the future. And then the last bucket is your legacy bucket. If legacy is important to you, that's the money that's at the very end. Meaning your first priority is to make sure you have liquidity and longevity to ensure that you can have a safe, secure retirement. And then if you want to leave wealth to those individuals and cause near and dear to your heart, that's where legacy comes in. So all these things that's what I tell people. It's not about scaring people, but letting people know about the phases of retirement and trying new things and doing
I
things
love
on their
that.
term.
I love that. So that's liquidity, longevity, and legacy. That's beautiful. We got the 4 C's and the 3 L's. Thank you so much. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Rita, thank you so much for sharing your insights and experience with us and your journey and your dedication with this expertise in wealth and financial coaching and empowering women in finance are just truly inspiring. Thank you so much for this gift. To our listeners, we hope you found this conversation as enlightening as I did. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Your support helps us continue bringing you these valuable discussions. And remember, I'm going to let Rita tell us where you can find resources, how you can find out how to get in touch with her. Share with us now, Rita.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I love this conversation. As you can feel my passion and energy, I want everyone to have clarity and confidence and control over their financial lives. So you can find me on LinkedIn on Marguerita Cheng, or you can go to the website blueoceanglobalwealth.com. So yeah, I look forward to hearing from you.
Yes, and thank you for tuning in. And we will have this information at the end of our segment that you'll be able to see where to connect with Rita. Thank you again for tuning in for Executive Woman, Women Changing the Game. And certainly we found out a lot today about how we can change our game, not only in leadership, but in our finances as well. We'll be back next week with another inspiring guest. Until then, keep striving and keep growing and keep supporting one another. Thank you.